Hello and welcome all the lovely kids of Coloria on the YouTube channel of Srimati R.S. Coloria YouTube. Today, I Priyanka Chudasma will be enlightening you people for the 7th standard chemistry chapter NCERT. We have here chapter number 3, that is fiber to fabric. Now, as the name of the chapters tell us that it is fiber to fabric, as we have studied in standard 6 also, the chapter regarding this means the fiber, the smallest unit or the strand that is coming out from the thread is known as the fiber. We have studied in the 6th standard about the two plant fibers, that is the jute and the cotton, if you remember it, isn't it? Then in standard 7 we are going to read about the two animal fibers, that is the wool and the silk. Now we know very well that the wool is taken out as the fleece from the animals. What is this fleece? The hair, upper hair of the skin of the animals is known as the fleece. Now this is taken from the wool giving animals. Now which are the wool giving animals to us? For that we need to go through this point. Now here we have animal fibers, that is the wool and the silk, which we are going to have the highlighted on this chapter. Next one we have topic as 3.1, that is the wool. Now as we know that there are some animals who have long hair on their body and wool in their body. So if they are the sheep, the goat, the camels, the yak and the different animals, they possess some different type of the structure on their skin, that is the hairy skin, or they have the woolen skin. Now what does it help? Gives the help to these animals. As we know that air is a poor conductor of the heat. Now in the same way, the animals, those who are having the more hair or wool on their body structure, on their skin, these hairs will give the warmness to the animal, so that they are protected in the winter season. Now from these wool or the hairs, we will take them out and make the woolen clothes. So here we have the activity 3.1. Now what does this activity 3.1 tells us? What we have to do is we have to take our one hand, just take the second hand and move it on that hand. What you will find? You will find that there are some soft hairs found on your arms. Now take the hand and rub it on your head, means your hair on the head. You will find that there is a vast difference between these two portions of the body, that is the hair on the head and the hair in your skin. So what is the difference? The hair on your head are little bit coarse, that means they are little bit harder as compared to the one which is present in your arms. So it does mean that the hair which are present on your skin are much softer as comparison when they are on the beard or on your head. So these are the things which we have to take care when we are putting ourselves and taking out the wool or the hairs from the animals. By this method we can find out that the hair or the wool which is obtained from the animals, which is from the skin part, is very much softer as compared to the one which is obtained from the beard or from their head. So this is the point that we have to study in this activity 3.1. Now the next thing we have is a selective breeding. See, as we are doing the rearing of the animals, now what is this rearing? We will come to know in the next topic soon. So what we have to do? We are just taking care about the sheep and the yak and the camel and the goat for obtaining the wool and the hair from their body. So we have to find out the profit for that purpose. Now how do we get the profit in that? If we are yielding more of the wool from the single animal also. So for that purpose we have chosen the parents of these sheep. Now we have chosen them and we have made them to breed for the new offspring, and the offspring which is now obtained will be known as the selective breeding. So we are doing the selection of the parents in this part to have the good productivity of the offspring, which will be giving us the profitable margin of the wool which we are obtaining from these type of the animals. So for this reason we are doing this selective breeding, where we are choosing the parents and finding the new offspring to be formed from them. The next topic we have here is animals that yield the wool. Now which are the animals which are yielding the wool? As we have studied that from lower standard, we come to know that camel is the sheep is the one which is going to give us the wool. Yes, of course, but as we go in the higher standard, we come to know that instead of the sheep also we have the other animals also which are going to present us with the wool and the hair, which are going to be useful for making the woolen clothes. Now, which are they? The sheep is there, the yak which is found in the Tibet and Ladakh area, they are also providing us good things. Then we have the Angora goat, from where we can got the mohair, and they are found in Jammu and Kashmir. Then we have the Kashmiri goats which are giving us the wool, and they are made here useful in making the Pashmina shawls which are much famous in the northern India. Then we have the camels. There are the different breeds of the camels who are providing us the good portion of the wool, that is their hair, that is llama and alpaca. They are found in the South America. Now, these are the animals which are useful in giving us, or we are yielding the wool from them. Now, here we have activity 3.2, which is saying us that we need to identify the pictures and we have to collect the pictures of these animals who are useful for giving us, providing us the wool, or from which we can yield the good amount of the wool from their body structure. So, there we need to collect some pictures and paste in RCW so that we can come to know, and we need to identify their names also. So, it is this activity 3.2 which will be telling us that which of the animals we have stick in our CW for the yielding of the wool. The next one we have is activity 3.3, where we have the outline map of the world and India also, where we will be finding that some of the portions of India or the world where we will be having the present of the animals which are yielding the wool. So, we can have the sheep, the goat, likewise. But in India, as we know that we are having table 3.1, which will be telling us that where and which quantity of the wool is obtained by which of the sheep in different parts of the India. So, let us have a look at that table. So, in this we have table 3.1. As you can see over here on the screen, we have table 3.1 which is telling us about the name of the breed. The second portion is quality of the wool, and then we have the state where they are found. So, here we have the number 1, that is Lohi, which is a good quality wool which is found in Rajasthan and Punjab. Next one we have Rampur Bushehr, where the brown fleece is available, and Uttar Pradesh and Himachal Pradesh where they are found in. Then next one we have is Nali, the carpet wool which is obtained from the Rajasthan, Haryana and Punjab. The next one is we have the Bakharwal wool, and then it is used for the woolen shawls which is available in Jammu and Kashmir. The next two last one are in Gujarat. One is Marwari and Patanwadi. Marwari is used for as a coarse wool, and Patanwadi is used for the hosiery purpose. So, these are the things where we can map up the outline of the some of these we can say the states of the India where these sheep are available with their good quality of the wool on them. Now, here the next portion we have is from fibers to wool. When we are going from fibers to wool, we need to find out that what is the exact meaning of the fiber. As I showed you people that the small strand which is found on the thread, by scratching it you will find a small thread. This strand is known as the fiber. This can be obtained as a natural form when we are getting the wool from the animals. Now, this fiber, from the fibers to the complete wool means which is already knitted and forming to the fabric. Fabric means the cloth. So, how do we go to that step? So, there are so many of the steps from fibers to the wool. So, let us have a look at these things, what they are actually. For that, we need to first of all do the rearing and breeding of the sheep. Now, what is this exactly meaning of the rearing? Now, rearing means we are taking care of the animals from whom we have to take or obtain the wool. Now, taking care means what? we are feeding them, we are watering them, we are making them to move from one place to another with their ease, we are keeping them in a proper manner, in a proper shed, and taking almost utmost care of them. So this is what the rearing means we are taking almost care of them in our eyesight views. So this is what the rearing means. Then breeding, as we have studied that we are doing the selective breeding, means we are choosing the parents and then we have the new offsprings coming out from them, which will be yielding us good amount of the wool. So these two things are being done over here, which will be useful in giving out or yielding us the good amount of the wool. Now next one we have the topic, that is what are these processes from the processing from the fibers into the wool. So let's have the stepwise look at these things. Let us see the processing of the fibers to the wool. Here we have some of the steps. The first step is the shearing. Now what is the shearing? Yes, it does mean that taking out the wool and the upper skin layer from the body of the sheep. Now does it hurt the sheep? No, it does not, because the upper layer will be the dead skin, which is not going to hurt the sheep, and soft layer will be taken out with the help of the trimmer that the people use over there for the breeding, for the beard to clean up at the home also. So it will be used by these things to shave them with very easiness, and then thus these sheep will be sheared very easily. It will not be harming them, it is not going to give any hurt to them. So this is the first step, that is called the shearing. Now the next step that comes is the scoring. Now as we have taken out the first skin layer and the woolen portion, that is the hair of the sheep, this will be needed to be cleaned. So they are washed in a big tank where they will be having the cleaning of these things, that is the wool and the skin layer of the sheep. Then the next step comes, that is the third step, that is the sorting. Now here everyone is not giving the good yield of the wool. So we need to separate them out. If the good wool is there, then the short wools, then the poor wool, all these type of the different types of the wools are to be separated by the sorting method. Next we will go for the step number 4, which is telling us picking the birds. Now burr is very bad things which is coming out when sometimes we wear the woolen clothes. So this is the burr which actually is to be taken out during this step. So these burrs will be taken out that time, and then again they will be scoring, means they will be again washing them clearly, and then again they will be drying it so that it is now ready for making the fiber from this material. Now the next step we have is step number 5, that is the dyeing. Means we can color now these wool into different color whatever we want to have them in the market. So this we know that the sheep will be giving us the white colored wool, the goats will be having the black color and the white colored hair. So these can be dyed in the different colors as we wish. Then we have step number 6, that is telling us the rolling to the yarns. Now when they are rolled into the yarns, there also some step is required. Before that we need to straighten this portion, that is the hair, because they are not in a straight way, they are all curved. So we need to straighten them first, and then we need to comb them to separate out the dirt from there or unwanted material from them. So grease and all these things will be washed away in the scoring, and then whatever the leftover things are there, they will be combed by this method, and then it will be removed out very easily, and then they are rolled into the yarns. Okay. Now after that what we will do, here we have to separate again the two things, that is longer fibers, they will be used and rolled into the wool for making the sweaters, but the shorter fibers will be spun for weaving into the woolen clothes. Now this is where the difference comes. Now from here only the wool will be separated itself. The next, so from here we can say that the steps starting from the fiber to wool, what are these steps? Having a look at that, shearing is the first thing where we remove out the hair along with the small layer of the skin with them, that is a thin layer of the skin. Then we have the scoring where the washing is done for the hair which is obtained from the sheep. Then we have to do the sorting of these hair. Then we have the cleaning for the bird, whatever the birds are present over there, we need to clean them up clearly, and then the dyeing is done, that is coloring portion is done, and then the rolling into the yarn is done. So for that we will be having the wool now ready as the fiber, and then it can be now treated for the further purpose. Now here we have the occupational hazard. Now hazards are always there in all the fields, but here we are saying the occupational hazard. So what is this occupational hazards meaning? In this occupation, whenever the person are working, they may get some disease, infection. Now the sorters who are sorting out these materials, that is the wools are being sorted, that time the people may get this disease named as the anthrax, because it is available in them, and so it is fatal blood disease which is caused to them, and this is called the occupational hazard. This will be occurring to these sorting out people, the people who are doing this sorting work over there. Now here we have a question from the Bujo's side. Bujo is asking that, Bujo is wondering why it hurts when someone pulls his hair, but when he goes for a haircut, there is no such type of the pain. So we can say that when somebody is just taking out the hair from your skin, they are uprooted, but if you are going for the cutting, then it is not uprooted, it is just cut from the top surface. So we can say that up to the skin level it will be cut out in the barber shop, but when we are pulling it out, it is uprooted from the bottom of the hair. So it gives the pain a lot to the person, but when it is just cut, it will not be uprooted, so it is not painful. The next question is that Bujo is wondering that why a cotton garment cannot keep us warm in the winter as the woolen sweaters does. So as we know very well that the woolen sweaters, they are made from the wool which is obtained from the animals. These animals were also keeping themselves warm. Why? Because these layers will be consuming the air in between them, and so they will be locking the air over there, and because of that we can say that the temperature will not be transferred from one portion to the other portion when there is a woolen layer in between. It does mean that air is a poor conductor of the heat, we know very well. So we can say that there is no transfer of the heat from one portion to the other portion when we have the surface of the woolen clothes in between us. So by this way we can say that the woolen clothes will be giving us more of the warmness as compared to the cotton clothes. Now we have activity 3.4. Let us see what is there in activity 3.4. Here it is mentioned in our textbook that we have to do a debate. For what? The question is arising here as the classmates you have to debate with your classmates that whether it is fair on the part of humans to rear the sheep and then chop off their hair for getting the wool. Now for that there are two things. One is that we are doing this which is unwilling for the animals, but on the other hand when we are looking, it is a dead cells or the dead skin portion of the animals which is not useful for them. So we have two phases of the same question. So we can go on for the debate for this type of the sentences. Next one topic we are having here is 3.2, which is telling us about the silk. Now when we are rearing for the sheep, we are caring for them. In the similar way, when we are looking for the silkworms or looking after them, we are calling some method to them, and this method of rearing of the silkworms is known as sericulture. So taking care of them from the stage of their egg stage to the last stage when they become the butterfly or the moth. So up till that we have to take care about them, and this is known as the sericulture process. So what is this life history of the silk moth? Let's have a look at that. So when we are looking at this, now before that in the sericulture, when you are looking at the silk portions of the saris, some different other fabrics of the same type, that is a silk only, but in the different ways, then you can find out from your mother, from your aunt, from your elder sisters that different types of the silk we want to see. Then they can take out some clothes from their wardrobes. If they possess, they will be telling you about the different types of the silk. Now this is what about the sericulture. Now when we are looking at the life history of the silk moth, we can come to know that what is the first stage of the life of the moth of the silk. Now here we can say we have the female caterpillar, we have the female silk moth which will be laying the eggs. Now these eggs will be converted to the caterpillars or the silkworms, we can say. The larva will be converted like that, and then it will be hatched, and thus we have the caterpillars or the silkworms. Now these silkworms will be again becoming elder and they will be converting into the pupa stage. Now when they are converting to the pupa, they will start forming some thread like structure around their body. They will roll up a thread like structure, means they will be secreting some portions from their mouth, and they will be making their 8 number structure through their mouth by rolling their mouth, so that the secretion of their body from the mouth will be making the thread and they will be woven around their body structure. So this is a beautiful structure which is formed, and this structure will be known as now the cocoon. So here we can say that the caterpillars and the silkworms are made from the larva, then they will be converted to the pupa. Before the pupa stage is going on, what will be happening? From the protein from their body, this is saliva which has been taken out from their mouth, they are forming the structure is the pure protein which will be hardened soon when they are released from their mouth. So the cocoon is formed around their body structure, and this cocoon will be the silk, pure silk which is coming out from their mouth, that is from the silkworms. Now here we can say that there are different types of these. Now during this cocoon stage, the pupa will be developing and it will be converting further into the into the other stage. Now this is stage where it will be converting into the moth. Now after the moth is completely made inside the cocoon, it will break up this cocoon and then will move on. Now this cocoon is helpful to us now, because this is the one which is going to give us the silk, and the moth which is now ready for the next generations to come up will be laying again the eggs. Now these eggs will again go through the same cycle, that is the larvae will convert to the caterpillar or these silkworms, then again the pupa stage, again the cocoon will be formed, and thus we will have the same cycle. This cycle is termed to be the sericulture, means if this is taken care about under our eyesight, then this is the sericulture which we are doing for the development of the earthworm, for the silkworms from the egg stage to the moth stage. So these are the things. Now here we come across with so many different types of the silk in our life stages. So what we can see here, we have the smoothest one silk which is known as the mulberry silk moth, which is the most luxurious one, which is more affordable, which is more of the elastic one and more of the silky one. So it is the one which is more famous over here, and we can say that the silk is as hard as, or we can say that it is more having more of the capacity like the steel wire. So you can say that how silk is more stronger. So here it is mentioned that we can dye them also in the different colors, and we can have that it is strong as comparable to the thread of the steel, not the steel wire, sorry. So sericulture and the culture of the silkworm to have is a good occupation, and it is an old occupation also. So in India we are doing at so many of the places also. Now activity 3.5 here says that collect the pieces of the silk cloth of the various types and paste them in your scrapbook, or you can have it in your CW if it is available to you. You can find them in the tailor's shop. Along with your parents you can go over there and you can find different types of these silk over there. The names of these silk would be something different from that is the mulberry silk, some tesser silk, some airy silk, then the muga silk, and so many other silk are available in the market. Now this is what we have seen in activity 3.5. Now we have activity 3.6, which is telling us something that if we are burning the silk thread and the woolen thread, what type of the smell will be appearing in that. Now if we can say that if it is a pure silk, there will be no burning, there will be no such burning of the paper, but it will be the burning of the hair like smell, because after all it is a hair or it is a portion of the protein. Now when we are burning the pure wool, again the same thing will be appearing, means we can have the smell of the hair burning because it is a protein portion again. So these two when burning, original one when they are burning, they will be smelling like the hair, but if it is burning like the paper, the smelling like the paper, then it is the artificial silk or the artificial wool. So this is what the activity 3.6 is asking to us. Next we have activity 3.7, where you have to take the photocopy of figure 3.9. Figure 3.9 means what? Here the stages of the silkworm. You have to just take the photocopy and then cut it out all the stages of the silkworm from here, and then you have to just jumble them up. Now you have to find out the correct cycle by which they are preparing themselves for the from egg to the moth. So this will be the activity 3.7, which is very interesting, and the one who will be making it first will be the winner. And now here we are talking about the Indian women. Only Indian women are the one who are engaged in this portion, that is they are utilizing themselves in the making of this sericulture or taking time to have the sericulture by them. So what does it mean? They are using their time for taking care about the silkworm, they are taking the care for the moth, they are taking care of the cocoons, pupa and all these stages of the silkworm. So they are very much useful to make this silk in the market. Now as we know that China is the leading one in this field of the silk market, and the India is also over there. So India is also leading in that, but China is the first one. India also rank amongst the leading silk producing countries over here. The next one we are having here is from cocoon to the silk. Up to cocoon we now know that we have come through the cocoon, but after cocoon what are the steps by which we can obtain the pure silk from it? Now this will be having something different stages. So here we can say that we have to do the rearing of the silkworm. Now what is this rearing of the silkworm? When the eggs are stored, they will be formed into the rearing, means we know now the taking care of the silkworm is called the rearing. If it is done under the human beings activities, then it is called the rearing. So we can take care about these stages. We can have the eggs in the bamboo like structures, we can feed them with the grass, we can feed them with the mulberry leaves, not the grass, they feed on the mulberry leaves because they are found in the mulberry trees only. So we can feed them with the mulberry leaves on them, and then we can have the processing going on naturally. When the cocoons are formed, they are automatically shifted to the bamboo like structures. There are so many structures in the factories of the rearing process. So there will be, they shifted over there, and later on they will be converted by themselves into the moth, and thus the cocoon will be left over for the formation of the silk. Now the next stage. So in the picture you can see all these things mentioned over here. Now here we have the processing of the silk. What is this processing? Now pile of the cocoon is used for obtaining the silk fiber. We cannot have only one cocoon, single cocoon, but we need a lot of cocoons to have the silk from them. So we can have three methods by which we can prepare it. Either we can boil them, or we can heat them directly in the sun, or we can keep it or we can just expose to the steam. So when we are doing this, what will happen? They will become softer, and then they will be easily molded to the silk, pure silk fiber. Now the process of taking out the thread from the cocoon uses as the silk is called the reeling of the silk. Now what is this reeling? Reeling means to take out the silk and to wound into the yarns. Now this is the reeling is done in the special machines, which is unwinding of the threads or the fibers of the silk from the cocoon. Now these silk fibers are then spun into the silk threads, and these threads are now ready for the formation of the silk clothes by the weaver. So they will be given to them now. Now here we come to know that what is the stage by which the silk clothes are being made. Now let's see the history, or we can say that the discovery of the silk, how the discovery of the silk was there. Now as you can see on the screen, the discovery of the silk, the exact time of the discovery of the silk is perhaps unknown. According to an old Chinese legend, the Empress Si Longqi was asked by the Emperor Hong Ti to find the cause of the damaged leaves of the mulberry trees growing in their garden. The Empress found white worms eating up the mulberry leaves. She also noticed that they were spinning shiny cocoons around them. Accidentally, a cocoon dropped into her cup of tea, and a tangle of delicate threads separated from the cocoon. Silk industry began in China and was kept in closely guarded secret for hundreds of years. Later on, traders and travelers introduced silk to other countries. The route they traveled is still called the Silk Route. So by this way we end up this chapter. I hope that you have understood this chapter very well. Thank you.